What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today I bring you the 2021 Killin' It Again Seltos SX. But before I jump right into this Seltos, I want to share some exciting news with you guys. For years we've been complaining how this logo needs to change. Well, guess what? Kia has changed it. It's so crazy that they showed this crazy fireworks show with all types of drones, and they launched 308 different fireworks off drones. It actually made the Guinness Book of World Records. Now, let me show you what they changed it to. So this is the current logo. Pretty inspirational right here without the line. Yeah, that's their original logo. But now with their new and inspired logo. Check this out, guys. This is futuristic right here. What? Killing it again, Kia. Killing it again. Now, driving around a Kia, you don't have to be worried anymore because your badge is all new. So I really like January as a month. I know a lot of people don't like it because they spent all their money in December, but I do like January because it's where we draw a line in the sand and think about how the year went and how the year is gonna go. And one of those things is money. How does your money look? So I wanted to bring a car onto the channel that would really focus in on value and money. So in this segment, which is actually one of the fastest growing segments out there, is this small utility vehicle, or really like small baby SUV. So if this is what you like to see, stick around. So with a starting price of about $22,000 US and $23,000 Canadian, this lunar orange, lunar orange, what do you guys think? Does it look like lunar orange to you? Anyways, the front of this car looks, or mini SUV, looks like 2 or 3 different vehicles kind of pieced together. They did have some Kia pieces, which is this tiger nose, and they do follow that all the way in the glass. So if you look at the top of the windshield there, they do follow it. And that's pretty typical with Kia, that they do follow it all the way down in their design architecture. But if we just talk about the front of this car, they did add some skid plates on the bottom, in the front and the back. Obviously their logos here, but this tiger nose thing is pretty common with Kia. But this is the cool piece, is their lighting. And again, they're targeting some of the German manufacturers with their lighting, because look at this lighting across all the way down. It sort of looks like a mustache or a whoosh. All right, so that was the front, but I'm gonna skip back to January again. And I know money's really easy to borrow, and I know they throw 0% financing at your face when you're looking at models like this price point, but you guys really have to remember, if you're gonna take 0% financing, what you guys really have to understand is you wanna keep the car. So you have to really make a conscious effort to buy the right car for you. So it's not about the car today. It is a little bit about this Kia, but it's also really about making the right choice. So I'm gonna try to explain this car from the perspective of value, because value is important. So styling, I went over the styling, but do you guys like the way this styling looks? Do you like this front end? If you do like this front end, let's move a little bit deeper. You can get it in 2 different engines, a 2-liter 4-cylinder, or you can get it in the 1.6 turbo, which is what this has. This makes 175 horsepower and 195 foot-pounds of torque with, I might add, a full sequential gearbox, which is awesome. So let's check what's under this hood and how it looks. Oh my God, this thing weighs. This is the heaviest hood we've ever had on the channel, guys. This thing weighs like 20,000 pounds. So the next sales guy that says, hey, we've got great cars to offer, be like, buddy, have you lifted this hood before? This thing weighs like 10,000 pounds. But anyways, listen, this is the motor if you want to go fast. If you want to save money, then buy the 2-liter. That is what you guys need to know. Because in Canada, we've got a 5-year warranty, and in the US, they have a 10-year warranty. So Canadians are gonna think, man, how come I don't get the 10-year? Well, the car's built exactly the same. So on paper, you don't get it, but it's built to last 10 years because otherwise the warranty claims would be huge. I kind of see Volkswagen Tiguan. Anyways, side of the car. This thing has all-wheel drive. This also has independent rear suspension, and it's got plastic fender liners on the front and the back, which means it might be noisy inside, but we'll get to the drive and figure that piece out. However, on the side, I do like the fact that they do have black on the side here. It kind of breaks up the car a little bit. It does follow all the way back. This isn't aluminum. does work, but it's not aluminum. And in typical Kia fashion, you've only got the door locks in the front, the automatic door locks. But in Kia fashion as well, they've got a whack of safety features, all the way from lane centering to automatic braking to front collision warning to front collision stopping. They've got all types of safety features. So if we're nitpicking the side of this car, we can obviously point to these little red rings around these wheels because there's nothing in that color on this car except for that. But they did have this cool thought process of putting this nice piano black finish all the way down. But then they went with this sort of satin chrome on the door handle. So I don't know about you, but it looks sort of weird to me. But I know who buys these cars. You see, it sort of appeals to a lot of different demographics. And one is our grandparents, because if they want to get in and out of the vehicle, they simply just have to stand here and put their butt down. Pretty easy. And for young guys like not me, they want something that looks cool, that's kind of flashy, and is affordable. So in order for manufacturers to make vehicles look fairly large on the outside, but actually use all the space inside, especially with ones this small, these compact sort of SUVs, the only way to do that is to sort of flare the front to the back. So the back is really wide and the front is really skinny. So from skinny all the way to the back, it flares up. And you can see with some of the design cues back here, some of the lighting, even this roof rail sort of flares back, and some of the chrome pieces that kind of extend out to sort of give it that one-piece feel. And moving to the back of the car here, let's talk about the fuel. This is a 1.6 liter turbocharged motors, and most motors that are built this way require premium fuel, but not this one. You can put regular gas in. And even with regular gas, it makes this kind of power. See? They don't even put a sticker for us. All right, so in the back of the vehicle, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of cuts, a lot of edges, a lot of different mixed use materials they've used here. They've embedded sort of the rear tail light in this little fin they've added. They have the overhang spoiler. They obviously do have a satellite radio sort of fin right there. They do have rear skid plates. They do have fake exhaust. They do have in and outs, narrowing. They've got a lot of moving pieces. Now, does this matter at the end of the day? Probably not, because the buyer of this is not really going to care exactly how this trunk looks. Whether there's going to be a light here or a light here, it doesn't matter. As long as it doesn't look like their mom and dad's potential Corolla. Now, the piece that's important here is how much trunk room do we have, because that at the end of the day is why you need something like this. So let's take a look and compare this to the car you drive. So if you drive something that is smaller, then from the end of the back seat to here is 33.5 inches. So if you need something larger than that, it's not going to work for you. So go home, measure your trunk, and see how big it is compared to this one at 33.5 inches. And by the way, does this look like a baby RAV4 to you? All right, so I'm in the back of the Kia Seltos. SellThose, all the Kia dealerships telling all their employees, SellThose, Kia corny. Okay, so in the back here, you can recline these back seats, which are pretty cool. I haven't seen a car of this price point do that yet. I've seen cars above this price point do it, so it's pretty cool. Only annoying part is you have to actually reach your back here to do it. You can't do it from here, which would make sense. But anyways, everything else seems pretty standard. Cool features here is they actually have vents in the back, which probably doesn't sound like a big deal, but not a lot of cars at this price point have two vents in the back. As far as media goes, it does have a USB in the back, so pretty straightforward stuff. Other than that, I'm 5'8.5", and this is how much room I have. Did I talk about the RAV4? Yes, this has more passenger volume than a RAV4. And last but not least, it does have something called the rear occupant sensor. So if there's somebody in the back, it tells you in the front. Speaking of front, let's get to the front. All right, so we're in the 2020. I want to check this door. Pretty solid, I like it. All right, so I'm in the 2021 Kia Seltos, or SellThose, whichever you want to call it. And it's pretty Kia-ish than I'm used to. Nice big calculator buttons. Everything's nice and big, easy to see. So let's talk about value. And value usually means plastic everywhere in the car business. So let's see how much plastic this actually has. Now I'm expecting to have plastic all on the top, which is pretty normal. But it's below that they actually take it up a notch, where they put all this piano black to sort of clean it up. And they actually put this really big clean display on this HVAC system, which is really, really nice. Other than that, it does have a sliding armrest. Yes. You will not believe how many vehicles don't have a sliding armrest. And that is important because not everybody is 6'4" that put their elbow all the way back. And that over the years actually given me shoulder pain. So it's nice to know that this can move forward for my small body of frame. Anyways, it does have wireless charging. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But the meat and potatoes is this 10.2-inch screen. Now, we reviewed this 10.2-inch screen on the Kia K5, and it is phenomenal. It does have 3 split screens, and it is pretty fast. There's not a lot of lag, and this is actually less laggy than the K5. That is impressive. So I'll get back into the details of this screen, but I want to talk about the meat and potatoes of these seats. Now, these seats do have heated and cooled. This does have heated steering wheel, but one odd thing it does have, it has 4-wheel or all-wheel drive lock. And with this transmission being a dual clutch transmission, probably not a good thing to have, just because the way it's shifting, it's not a slow motion transmission. It's sort of like on or off. It's really designed to be a manual gearbox. And yeah, I think they should yank this button, and maybe on the drive I'll show you why. So a few other features is auto hold. So auto hold is when you come to a traffic light or there's a guy in front of you and you hit the brakes and you let go, the car doesn't roll forward. It actually automatically brakes. And that's a feature from some of the higher end German vehicles. Now, a few other pieces from the German vehicles is heads-up display. This thing has heads-up display, but it's really kind of like a halfy heads-up display. It just sort of checks the boxes. And last but not least is where the placement of this drive mode is. It's kind of down here, and for some reason, my hand just goes down here to start the car. But the start the car is right here, which is totally hidden behind the steering wheel and the wiper stalk. All right, so back to this 10.25-inch nav screen. It does have something called Sounds of Nature, and that's pre-programmed. Do you guys remember the U2 album in your iPhone that you could never get rid of? This is basically that. It's called Sounds of Nature, and it basically has 6 different sounds, and one of them is called Snowy Village. And because we're up here in Canada, I thought I'd bring you Americans some of our sounds. It sounds like a really distorted person walking through the snow. But since we're all in our lockdown, all we want to hear is this. Kuba! So SellThose actually has 3 driving modes. The first one is Comfort, then there's Smart, and then there's Sport. So when you turn to Sport, it does change the way the display looks, but not only that, it actually bumps the RPM up to make you feel more sporty. I love where we are in the world today. This tech is phenomenal at this price point, and let me show you why. This has some premium features which you can only really get in high-end product. So a simple example is your wife takes your car out, takes your SellThose out, and she goes for a drive. She comes back in. The next day you jump in and you start the car and the music is blasting and you pretty much jump out of your skin. But not in this. You can actually set it that when the next person jumps in the car, it lowers the volume. But there's so many other little features in here. Like it's got a blue light, so it can limit the amount of blue light filter that comes through so it doesn't hurt your eyes. Kia Seltos, man. Huh. So another interesting feature is this has something called a sound mood lamp, where you can choose different themes according to where you're going, I guess. It also has something called grow only, ultraviolet cloud, dreamy purple. Cannabis is legal, that's for sure. All right, so I'm in the 2021 Kia Seltos. This thing is pretty peppy because of that 7-speed dual clutch gearbox. But anyways, now that I'm sitting in the car, this seat does sit higher. So it is actually higher on the actual frame. So it sits, it's not that the seat itself sits higher, but it's mounted higher. So it does make you obviously sit higher. Now, that along with the fact this has a really good heated steering wheel and really hot heated seats, it also does say hi to you. Like, what car that you get in says hi to you right there? Look, it says hi right there in nice big letters. Hi. Hi back. And finally, a transmission I can shift over, and it says S for sport, not just S in drive mode. It actually shows S over there, and it shows how much I'm on the throttle right here in S. When I'm on the throttle, these little LED lights come up, and that is pretty cool to show me how aggressive I'm driving. So my wife has some plates in the rear trunk, and my objective today is to try to break those plates in my Kia Seltos on the throttle. All right, off they go. All-wheel drive, torque vectoring. This thing does have rollover sensor, so if it does roll over, then all the airbags will eject. So don't worry, guys, I'm safe just for you in this Kia Seltos. So what really helps this cornering is this independent rear suspension they have now. And it does a great job. It's nice and smooth, takes bumps really well. And we're gonna pass this guy. Maybe not, don't wanna be a total jerk. All right, so let's try launching this thing and breaking those plates. Can the Kia Seltos break plates? On throttle, and off we go. Not bad, not bad. Nice screamy little engine. Feels pretty stable at high speed here. And on the brakes. And another piece I've added is this rear view mirror. This rear view mirror does not have an on and off switch for dimming. It automatically dims all the time, which is nice. You don't have to do one of these. So it's kind of nice that it's a standard feature and you're not blinded by the light or have to do one of these manual thingamajiggies, which is crazy in today's world. Considering this tech is far advanced. So they really pushed all the tech. And honestly, the Koreans are doing a great job with giving customers exactly what they want. No, I don't work for them, and no, I'm not sponsoring this car. It's just my opinion. At this price point, honestly, for all the years I've been with the German companies, it's just kind of refreshing to know that you don't have to be penny pinched on all the things you have to buy. Now, I know this is still quite a bit of money, obviously, but hey, when you're buying something like this, make sure you drive it. Don't just drive it around the block and be like, I like it. You have to drive it like you'd use it, or like you would drive your car every day, and that's what you need to buy. You need to buy something that you enjoy, that you like, that's reliable. Yes, it does have a long warranty, but put that all together. Feel the seat. Feel how your back feels in the seat. Speaking of seat, this thing only has lumbar back and forth. It doesn't have lumbar up and down, and I don't know why this is shaking so much. Sorry. So I don't know, but for me, it's all about the seat. I really need to have a nice quality seat. I just gotta have my tunes. I gotta have good steering, which, as you know, I'm in love with Kia steering and suspension. They have great steering and suspension for a car that is not German. So as long as you have all those features together and the price is right and it fits in your budget, then hey, why not take it for a drive, give it that opportunity, and if it works for you, then buy it, because that's what, at the end of the day, it's all about. All right, so around the corner, this does handle very well. Now, this thing does have all-wheel drive, as I mentioned, and torque vectoring. But a piece I want to talk about is this. When you're just sort of coasting and you're off the throttle, it does brake for you. Now, this thing does have dual clutch gearbox. Now, if you're not used to a dual clutch gearbox, it's totally different than any CVT you've driven or any normal transmission. It is really a manual gearbox inside, but it's driven like an automatic. So when you're off the throttle, you're still in gear, and the gear is actually slowing you down. It doesn't really coast very well. So if you're expecting a car to just coast, this is not going to give you that. This is designed to sort of hold the gear. So it's more driver oriented because of this gearbox on the throttle. Again, Kia just gives me that confidence because it's suspension, transmission, and steering. Now, comparing all the vehicles in its class, this does sit the highest. So it does make me feel confident, but knowing there's other cars in its class that sit lower, I'm interested to take those for a drive to actually fully compare it. So I'm just giving you my thoughts on how this thing drives, and around corners, it's good. It does handle really well. I mean, when I drove that Jeep Cherokee, it did not handle anywhere close to this. And this is basically a car just sitting higher. So if that's what you're after, a car that sits higher, this is what it is. I did drive the Honda HR-V, and that's a little bit more car-like than this. This is a little bit more SUV. It definitely has more room in the back in this thing than the Honda. But the tech in this is better for me, and that will probably push me over the edge into this thing than the Honda. And maybe you just need a change and just don't want another Honda or Toyota. So maybe this is for you. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. So because this is all-wheel drive, I really want to test out how good this all-wheel drive system is. I'm going to try it with and without lock. So they have this lock thing here. So let's just give it a shot without lock. I'm on gravel here. I'm going to pin it, and I'm going to try to stay on this shoulder as long as I can, and hopefully not get hit by anybody. So here we go. We got some time. 1, 2, 3, foot to the ground, and we're on it. All right, we're shaking like crazy. We're shaking like crazy, but we're still stable and back on the ground. So yeah, there's definitely some wheel spin there, but I did stay stable. I didn't drift to the left or drift to the right. Now I want to try that with the lock and see if I notice any difference. So let me spin around here and do that right again. All right, so I'm in the exact same spot now, and I will press the lock button and see how much of a difference this makes. Now, considering this is a dual clutch gearbox, it's going to feel a little bit different than a conventional gearbox. So let's try it now with the lock on. Gonna wait for this car to go by. All right, is it worth putting this button? Let's do the same thing. Foot at the ground and off we go. In lock. More aggressive, more aggressive, more dig. More dig. More dig on all four wheels. So, yeah, maybe. Give me the button. So I'm gonna bring this back again to you. If you are not used to a sequential gearbox, this is gonna feel different. When you're coasting, as I mentioned, you touch the gas, you're gonna get this pushback. So it's gonna be constant like this. So that is part of the transmission. That is what gives it the drivetrain to be fun. This kills a CVT transmission. So if coasting is what you need, don't buy this. So if you do get a chance to drive one of these things, maybe not by choice, because you end up at an airport and you need a rental and this is there for you, because these cars are getting more popular. So if you do end to drive one, at least you know you'll have a really good drivetrain to drive around with. You'll have great tech, and hey, the price will be right. So thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to subscribe.